Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Hello, welcome back. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so that you can get a notification of when we release a new video. I'm sitting again with Willie Pelser, our chief economist. Willie, welcome first of all. Yesterday we saw that the medium-term budget speech was convened in Parliament. What is the medium-term budget speech? Can you give the layman an understanding of what exactly is going on in this space?
Yes, Robin. I think the word budget makes it a bit different. So people think, okay, we're getting some new stuff and so on and so on. The medium-term budget framework was initiated quite a few years ago because we tend to get the budget in February.
Yes.
And then nothing happens until the next budget. We had statistics to sort of give you an idea where we were. But if they had to change course or something like that, it was always difficult. So now we've got a formal meeting or announcement, if I rather call it an announcement, to give us an update. Where are we relative to what's been saying, or what's been budgeted in the previous fiscal year?
Yes.
And then also just to say if government or Treasury have to think about a change of plan over the next 3 years. So it's a 3-year term. They also refer to it as a 3-year medium-term budget update principle.
Okay.
So it's just to give us where we are and how we're now thinking about the next 3 years. So far, we haven't had any official announcements in a medium term where a change in a rate, a VAT rate or a tax rate or anything, that's held until the official February budget. But sometimes they do hint that there's a committee or someone looking into something, whether it's national health or this or that could be announced in a meeting like this.
Yeah. So am I correct that the medium-term budget speech, part of what they do is they give us an update on tax collections? Is that correct?
Yes. So we normally get to, for the 6 months where we are now, relative to what's been budgeted, we get an idea, are we ahead, are we behind? Same on the expenditure line. Is the deficit going to be bigger or smaller? And then markets, again, take these at face value right when it's announced on the day.
So the big mover yesterday was, in fact, the Rand, which, as we went through, went under 18, and we were trading in the high 17s, which it hasn't been. I think we've touched the sort of 1840, 1850 over the last 10 days. Did the markets particularly like what was said, or was that some other driver there?
Robin, the markets did like this update.
Yes.
And one has to give credit where it's due.
Yes.
If we go back 2-3 years ago, the first metric that we all thought this is the end is a number called debt to GDP. And we were starting to face potential 3-year rollouts of above 90% to GDP scenario. The first number that hit the screens that we looked at, we stabilized around 70% of GDP.
Sure.
It's still big, but it's again a relative to where we were and where we are now. On the revenue line, it was much higher than the budget numbers in February this year for various factors. We'll get to those. And then the deficit will be smaller at the end relative to what's been budgeted. And then, that also led to the bond market having a substantially good day on the announcement. Yeah. So that the markets told us, yes, holistically, we like this.
Yeah. So Willie, if I understand it correctly, what you're telling us is that if our debt to GDP number is better than what was expected, then we've actually collected far more revenue than the government thought, that's tax in essence, isn't it?
Robin, I think most people will see this in the press as well. There's a so-called windfalls that we had because of our mining industry.
Yeah.
So we've been selling the platinum and the gold and all of those things at obviously record prices. But we've also been selling at a time when the rand was weak and so on. So that all led to corporate tax, specifically mining and in some instances, some manufacturing processes, where government actually collected more than what they budget for. We can go into numbers, but there's so many numbers, but between 80 billion in excess of what's been planned for. And then the budget for the next 3 years also have the revenue line much higher than the previous sort of 3-year outlook. So that was the big positive. Some interesting things in there is I've mentioned corporate, so individual tax is also ahead of schedule.
Yes.
For various reasons. One can say a lot about the South African economy, and perhaps where we do lose workers at the lower tax rate level, and those at a higher tax rate earn higher, earn better, and actually pay tax.
Okay.
So that's one area. VAT is an interesting dynamic in the economy at this point in time, because your VAT collection sometimes give you, or they always gives you an indication of, is your economy doing well,
yes.
especially when you collect more.
Yeah.
What we're seeing at the moment is they're not so much collecting more, but refunding more. There's a positive in that, in a sense of construction is happening. Yes. We've been talking about that. So those in that process can actually claim back, and Mr. Kisveta has mentioned that specifically, and also inventory buildup. Yes. Now, there's various reasons for inventory buildup. Those are two positive indicators for the economy, although VAT is not running ahead of schedule. But it does indicate our story that we say, let's focus on the underlying economy, the manufacturing, the construction, and those things tend to be on a forward-moving momentum.
Great. Well, in a country where it's very, very easy to defer to bad news, the Money Morsel has brought you good news today. So please don't forget to like and subscribe, and join us next time. Thank you for joining us, Willie.
Thank you.